Live. You're live! Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be testing Assassin's Creed Shadows on the Steam Deck thanks to Ubisoft for providing a code of the game a couple days before release, 1 day and 9 hours before release. How's it going, guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this game, apart from being a new game, is verified a few days before release. That either means it's fantastic or is using a lot of upscaling, which is what I'm thinking is going to happen. But we gotta test that claim as usual. How's it going, guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys been talking for a bit, huh? Yeah, I agree that putting frame gen and seeing more than 30 doesn't mean, oh yeah, it's fantastic on deck. I completely agree with that. That's BS. So this one's verified. I just played it on PC for 3 hours, and I have a Ubisoft Connect version of the game. You can install Ubisoft Connect on your Steam Deck. That's what I'm doing. Probably the difference, if you have it on Steam, is that on Steam you will have precompiled shaders from Valve, but that's about it. Performance should be basically there. Yeah, this is the OLED Steam Deck. And I'm also going to be experimenting today and showing you the smaller screen using a 4K webcam. First, we see it on the on the capture card, and then we try and see how it looks in real life. And hey, Spencer Walker 21, thank you so much for the 6.66 US dollars donation. Thank you so much. He says, verified. Let's see, Ubisoft. Same here. We hope it's verified enough, like I would like to say. But I was surprised how much the game loses without ray tracing when I was playing it on PC. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Good thing I have access to one of the cities in the open world. I played 2.5 hours already. So let's hit play. It was a 109 gig download. And it's on the SSD. The Steam Deck will be on fire. Hell yeah, deck on fire. What do you expect? 45? I expect 30s with heavy upscaling. I haven't played the game yet on the Steam Deck. This is my first time launching the game on deck. It launched pretty quickly. That's a good sign. 109 gigabytes. But let's see what happens. No, the ones that allow me to play early are the individual publishers. I talk to them directly. I send them emails, I bother them, and sometimes you get into a relationship with them that they allow you to enter stuff early. In this case, I've been talking to Ubisoft for a while already, because our games are very expensive. So I think my first game that I got from Ubisoft was, I think it was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah, starting from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I've been getting games on a few days before by Ubisoft. But it's just a thing of speaking to people that work there. Okay, UI size by default is all large. That's good for the smaller screen. Sensitivity content, of course, yes. Motion reduction, yes. This disables screen shake, motion blur, and lowers the FOV a little bit, so that helps. And as I was saying, if you want to get games before release, it's pretty rare. I mean, there's people that have a bigger following than me that have been playing it for a month. And I think that's way too early. But still. Yeah, I mean, they don't do it because they like me. They do it because people are watching and they want exposure, basically. And if you make game videos on every game that releases, like I try to do, it becomes like $1,000 a month. So yeah. I don't actually get it for free. I'm paying for it right now. So yeah. Coming from Ubisoft, it seems to be fine PC port. We'll see. I mean, it has a lot of options, which I agree with. I always agree with having more options, let's be honest here. The thing is, what you're saying, scalability, we're going for the lowest settings right away. Oh my god, looks so good. Look at this. It looks very realistic.
grains of sand which began as
Yeah.
rocks,
Hopefully it has 16 by 10.
these past lives, honed into who you are.
I'm still alive, but I hope the deck doesn't die. It won't die. But let's see how verified it is.
For a total perspective on what makes you you.
And this only happens the first time you launch the game. After that it won't happen again. I cannot skip this, unfortunately.
Weakness.
Do you make enough to do this full time? No, I have another job.
Conquer the world.
But I like having two things. The thing is today, for example, I took a day off in order to be able to stream the game and make Steam Deck content. So this is what I'm doing on my day off. Come on. Let's see if the default settings are good. I don't know what the default settings are. Let's see. Okay, FOV. What? Okay, by itself. Okay, by itself, it has 19% minimum dynamic resolution with a lot of sharpness, no frame gen, but it got the resolution right. And funnily enough, it doesn't have any options in the menu. Not sure if you guys noticed. Actually, what I told the executable, just to mimic having it on Steam, I told Ubisoft Connect that I have a Steam Deck. You do that by adding this shortcut. Steam Deck equals 1 command. This tells the basically what you're executing. Hey, I have a Steam Deck. And if the game does have Steam Deck specific things, it's going to use them. And for what I'm seeing here, you can basically put diffuse ray tracing everywhere or only on the hideout. By default it's like this, and we don't have any options when it comes to shadows, individual options, so they actually put the default settings for Steam Deck by itself. This is a good thing, but at the same time it's a little bit too much to only have this upscaling. But I think the default settings are probably decent, considering it came out of the box like this. So let's see how it looks like on default settings. I'm guessing this is the lowest settings, but we'll see. Let me... So, this is 800p. Default settings. Sorry, my keyboard is on the other side. Default settings. Dynamic res. Dynamic TAA, which is hilarious that it's 19% to 56%. So we're not even close to 800p. Let's see how it goes. Oh, the music. Before I forget. Music has to go. Sorry, guys. No le puedo jugar porque me dieron early access. Okay, let's go. All right. I already have a save. Yeah, this one. That has open world stuff, so we should be good. Let's see. Default settings. Yeah, at these low frame rates, forget frame gen, I agree. But there's a lot of content that I see published on YouTube that they put frame gen on and they're like, oh my god, look at how good this is on Steam Deck, it's 40 FPS. And it's frame gen, but the base frame rate is 20 and there's lots of input lag. And they claim no input lag. So it must be true, I guess. And that just pisses me off because people that play in general, I'm pretty sure they don't want heavy input lag with weird visual artifacts. No, it's TAA, so it's not even FSR. But we're going to try FSR, but I wanted to try the default settings first. But Ubisoft is not giving us options like on a normal PC. That means that they have the Steam Deck in mind. That's probably why it's verified. Because the game detected I was... Let's see. Actually, it's not so bad. Let's see once we actually do something. Draw distance is pretty limited. I can notice it right away. And it also allows us to go lower than usual when it comes to resolution. Yeah, there are spikes in the frame time. Oh, let me put the entire overlay. What am I doing? So, we're GPU limited. But it's actually holding 30s here. That's pretty impressive. I usually like to tweak the settings myself, but seeing that here it actually looks pretty decent still. What I like tweaking actually is the resolution, because the resolution scale is super aggressive, but it doesn't look bad. The edges don't look bad. I was expecting way worse than this. I forgot to be alive. Bueno, saludos, Martín. Basically, the game is scaled to minimum. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's below the minimum settings on PC, but it's definitely... I mean, it definitely allows you to push the resolution way lower when using dynamic resolution. I think on PC it allowed me to go as low as 33%, and here it goes down to 19%. 19%. Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm not allowed here.
I think the beginning of the game, though, is more interesting than this, but I wanted to run through some town. Just to see if we... Oh, dude, I'm stuck. Oh! That's funny. I can do this. But again, we have to do something interesting. The interesting thing actually happens once you are at the beginning of the game, because there's a lot of combat. But hey, first impressions are pretty good. Does it run better than Spider-Man 2? At least when it comes to edges, resolution, how it looks, the image quality, it looks better than Spider-Man 2 when it comes to resolution. It might be a lower resolution, but I think it's looking pretty damn good. And remember that I'm actually grabbing the Steam Deck's image and putting it on a monitor. So it looks worse than in the smaller screen. If you're looking at this in a bigger screen, it probably looks super pixelated. But even then, at least here, it seems to be fine. Yeah, it might be 300p, I'm not entirely sure. The thing is, as long as the game runs well and looks decent, if you look at the image quality, so far the image quality is significantly higher than in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And that game is also verified, but it looks like a pixelated mess. This one, I can see some chunkiness, but again, way better than... The edges are way better than in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And those birds, what the hell happened to those birds? So let's try something different. It actually allows me to enable ray tracing. Let's see, maybe that's why they put like 19% TAA as an option. Because it allows me to turn on ray tracing. So let's enable ray tracing. Just for the memes, I think it's worth enabling. RT. And it's funny that it does this. It diffuses itself. So let's apply this setting. Let's see if it crashes. It's probably going to be super low resolution now. Okay, yeah, definitely I can see the difference. It's much worse looking. But we're talking about global illumination here. Which quality of global illumination? I have no idea. Probably low. But still. Yeah, I can notice that it's a lower resolution and that the GPU is crying way more. But RT is on. I don't think we can get 40s though. Yeah, I don't think 40s is possible. I'm pretty sure that they put something below than low settings just because of the fact that it detects that it's a Steam Deck. Hi there. Dead. And I'm running around because I'm trying to get to be on daytime. Not sure if I can skip to daytime. But nighttime seems to be fine enough. Sí, tal cual, micro. Tal cual. FPS on native res, all very low. That's the thing, it doesn't give us any options. We're going to experiment. But so far, first impressions with the default settings, it's okay. The thing is, the resolution drops much more because I enable ray tracing. But I think they were a bit exaggerated when they put the minimum threshold of resolution at 19%. Oh, this is the Animus, my bad. But so far so good. I was expecting way worse, honestly. It's using, well, with, I shouldn't even have ray tracing on, let's be honest here. I just did it for the memes. But it still works. It just drops the resolution way too much. Yeah, no, I never imagined I could even run ray tracing stuff on Steam Deck. Okay. So upscaler, we have FSR, XeSS, automatic, or TAA. By default, it's on TAA. Let's try FSR. And as you can see, I don't have any more options in the menu. This is as far as it goes. It also allows us to use Frame Gen. Don't do it. Come on, you're better than this. But again, it doesn't allow us to disable dynamic resolution, but you can force it to be on native by putting it at 100%. So let's put it on native to see. Oh, it doesn't allow us to go native. The maximum it goes is 75%. Interesting. I see. I understand why they actually didn't put any settings when it comes to Steam Deck. They don't want people to put it at 20 FPS or something like that. So RT hideout only. And they need to make it work with ray tracing if it's verified on Steam Deck, because the hideout system is when you're in the hideout, basically at your house in the game. The game actually is using ray tracing whether you like it or not. So FSR 3, 75%. But again, we cannot go native, at least not without doing some tweaks. FSR 3 looks horrible. It looks way more pixelated. Yeah, but there's no low settings. You cannot really change that. We're going to try it later for just testing purposes, for science. But I can tell you already, FSR 3 looks way chunkier and pixelated. So I wouldn't use FSR. Let's try XeSS. XeSS sometimes saves the day. Oh yeah, that's way better. Yeah, the image quality is way better with XeSS. So I would definitely say use XeSS or TAA. But interesting, they made an entire menu just for Steam Deck users. Yep. Just don't play at without dynamic resolution. Otherwise it'll drop pretty hard, like you're seeing right now. Although I think 19% dynamic resolution is a little bit too exaggerated. But again, the settings that the game gives us are these. These are the only settings. I cannot go lower. I'm going to lower the sharpness a bit. The maximum resolution is 75, so let's put it at At a minimum, let's put it at 40%. So minimum resolution is 40%, maximum resolution is 75. But I cannot choose which frame rate I want, basically. Yeah, the ROG Ally will run it better, without a doubt. Come on, man. Get out of the way! Yeah, I think the horse cannot jump on this one. Okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to wait for daytime. But the GPU is fully utilized. I'm surprised. I was expecting way worse than this. I wouldn't say it's amazing, because it's not. But I was expecting way worse image quality, when it comes to the resolution at least. Although, we're probably below low settings, if you look at that shadow popping in. Yeah, I mean, without dynamic resolution, this wouldn't be 30. Again, I think they went super aggressive with dynamic resolution just because the hideouts, no matter what you do, they force you to use ray tracing in the hideouts. I don't know why, they just do it. So I'm pretty sure that 19% resolution by default is there for the hideouts. When you're in there, basically, even the Steam Deck needs to use ray tracing. Does HDR look good? I haven't tried HDR yet in this game.
Could it be
Oh, hello there. I was also expecting heavy stuttering, like most games today. And it's not doing that. It also seems to be with dynamic resolution targeting 31 FPS or something like that. But I mean, image quality is surprising, at least in my opinion. I was expecting, again, a 2D game, to say it in some way. Like, if you saw my Rise of the Ronin video, you understand what I'm talking about. That basically you're playing at all times below 30, and it doesn't get to 30 even with the lowest resolution, and you can only get 30s with frame gen. Well, that's not the case here. It uses heavy dynamic resolution, but it's not... It still looks like a video game. And here I changed some of the resolution options. The dynamic resolution, I was less aggressive. That's why it drops a bit below 30. But by default, it seems to have pretty good settings. I would personally still play it. I was, again, expecting Star Wars Outlaws levels of performance. And considering how it ran on PC, because I played it like 3 hours on PC, I was expecting like sub 30 at all times. Sub 20, better said. That's interesting. Anyway. TAA looks pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. FSR looks terrible. TAA actually looks better than FSR on this one, in my opinion. FSR is just too chunky. Let me see if I can change the time of day. I wish I could do that right away. I'm not entirely sure. But I have now 3 fast travel points. Let me see if I can go... I cannot go lower than 800p. That sucks. Let's use TAA with a lower bound of 30% and a maximum of 70. Let's not make the Steam Deck feel comfortable. And you might say, man, that's a wild jump. And it is. But what matters is that the game hits 30. The issue is that it doesn't allow me to change the target frame rate to something higher than 30. with dynamic resolution. It seems to be hitting 31. So my guess is that it's basically the setting is forcing a 30 FPS dynamic resolution. It's playable. Yeah. And I'm not even using frame gen, which again, it shouldn't be used at such a low frame rate. But I would say verified makes sense on this one, at least in this section. I want it to be daytime. I don't know why it takes so long. Maybe if I fast travel a few times. Yeah, well, that's true, Pav, but at the same time, that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about the PC. On PC itself, yeah, it definitely runs much worse than Valhalla, and it doesn't... I think that it's not justified to have this performance, considering the visuals. I agree on that front. What I'm saying is that considering how it ran on PC, I was expecting it to be Steam Deck terrified. Which is verified but running bad. And this one by default had pretty good settings. And it's using the GPU. Quite a bit, actually. I just want it to be daytime. No wall eject, really? Yeah, runs better than Veilguard. Runs better than Rise of the Ronin. Runs better than Dragon's Dogma 2. What else? What other game am I missing? That is verified but runs like absolute dog shit. Yeah, it's weird considering that on 4 GB of VRAM GPUs it runs horrible, but it makes sense because the Steam Deck has only 16 GB of RAM, and that RAM is shared between the GPU and the system because it's an APU. Uses the RAM, a portion of the RAM is used on as VRAM, and the game is using 6 gigs. So of those 16 gigs, 10 gigs go to the system, at least right now, and 6 gigs go to the VRAM. That's why it can handle more VRAM intensive stuff than the 1650. This one doesn't have a fixed VRAM amount. It uses whatever's left in the system. So yeah, it makes sense. Insurgency Sandstorm. I actually played that on Steam Deck. I don't even remember what it ran like. No Rest for the Wicked, yeah. Well, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That technically works, but they are using a setting that basically they pop in every 2 steps with a super low resolution. But again, I'm not sure if this is lower than low settings. Yeah, it's verified. Patch it up further. I mean, I think they already did a great job here. I don't know how they could improve it. It clearly has graphical drawbacks, which we're going to see more of in daytime. But just launching the game and hitting play when the game opened, it right away had the quote-unquote best settings. It was steadily at 30 with decent image quality, so I have no complaints so far. No, it doesn't run like Valhalla. Valhalla runs a lot better. Well, one thing that I can notice is that the water has no physics. 0 physics. This is something that I think even the low setting has on PC. Here it doesn't even have like deformation. So I've really discovered Sakai. So I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima now. Yeah, this is definitely lower than low. But again, when you're playing portable, you have to do sacrifices. Well, I'm not happy. Well, look at this. I can see the edges of the water ripples. I can see through the water. See those lines? That's the texture, the tile texture of the water. That's hilarious. But again, I think it looks good. The thing that would bother me is that if the game was like 20 something FPS and was verified. So I think it looks good. Or better said, good enough. I wish we could actually choose the settings ourselves, but again, most people are not going to dive into the settings. I know that because my channel has a lot of people saying, oh, I know nothing about PC settings. Like, thank you for making settings and stuff. And I'm like, okay, if this is more like a console, people probably shouldn't need to tweak it. It's like, okay, hit play and play the game. And this one has that effect. The default settings work well. Where's the tentacle monsters? Not that kind of Japanese game. Maybe some other time. Yeah, I mean, cube maps, there's definitely cube maps. But it was funny to see the edges of the water. And it's becoming daytime, so that's perfect timing. Yeah, I'm going to try frame gen. My guess is that frame gen is going to ignore the dynamic resolution. But I also want to go, let's go to the hideout. The hideout has forced ray tracing. So this is why there's a ray tracing option. Ray tracing in this game is always on when you're in the hideout. The hideout is like a hub area, a small hub area. And when you're in there, basically global illumination is always on. I'm pretty sure that that's why the game by default is on a range of dynamic resolution of 19% to like 50%. Because in this area, ray tracing is mandatory. Yeah, here we go. So I'm pretty sure what the game does is that when you go to the hideout, it drops the resolution as much as it can to maintain 30s, which is pretty hard on Steam Deck because it's ray traced, this part. So at this point, I'm at 30% resolution. But it still looks okay. It's just that they force ray tracing on you in this in this place for some reason. What do you do in the hideout? That's a great question. We get missions here, I'm pretty sure. Okay, there's pictures that other people took. There was some activity over here, but once I got in here, there was no ray tracing in that mission. But I haven't advanced enough to see what the hell is there in the hideout. But there's a lot of empty space. I'm pretty sure we can probably do something. Something important, I mean. I haven't played enough to see what the hideout does. But despite being at a higher setting than what the game recommends when it comes to resolution, even in the hideout, that is a place that has forced global illumination, it still works. It's more pixelated, obviously. But again, we're talking about a Steam Deck, a smaller screen. So what I'm going to try now is frame gen super quick, and then we're going to try and see if we can make the game see if we have a Steam Deck or not. So that frame gen, there's FSR frame gen. So now we have frame gen on. Frame gen on. Okay, and with frame gen, ooh, the input lag, Jesus Christ. No. Dude, don't use frame gen. Now the input lag, you guys probably cannot, yeah, you won't be able to tell because you're not looking at my hands. But it's some insane input lag. So yeah. The game tries to be at 30 FPS with a dynamic res. But with frame gen, I feel input lag right away. Yeah, the input lag is awesome! The input lag is insane! So if you guys see, you might say, okay, but if I look at it closely, it looks like garbage. And yeah, you might be right. I mean, if I zoom in a lot, but considering it's a new game that doesn't run particularly great on PC, I'm pretty surprised. And again, I don't like frame gen, but what I'm going to do here, because this is something that is important, again, the fact that it's a smaller screen, I think it's important, very important. So I'm going to try something to experiment, which is removing the capture card and pointing a webcam so you can see how it looks in real life, quote unquote. So let's unplug. And let's see what happens. Okay. Here we go. Wish me luck. This is my first time trying this live. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to see. And you can probably notice the input lag. But there it goes. But there is input lag right away. Yeah, the frame gen makes no sense in my opinion, especially if you're at 30 FPS. Like, what the hell? Yeah, 19% resolution scale if you want ray tracing. I mean, look at this. I mean, I cannot defend that. Come on, man. What the hell is wrong with people that say, oh, there's no input lag? Of course there's input lag. What the hell? Are you blind? Yeah, Wukong uses FrameGen to get 60s on PS5 and Series X. Look at it now. I think you guys can tell right away, right? I'm not crazy. I hope that was a good way to show it. I don't know which other way I could use to show you how much it sucks to use FrameGen, especially when the base frame rate is 30 or 20. But now, with FrameGen off, I mean, it works great with FrameGen off already. I think it even does it have screen space reflections? No, no freaking way. No, those are tube maps. Yeah, there's a bit of input lag, but it's not like you're getting consistently 60 or 40s even. It drops into the 30s even with FrameGen. So what's the point? By the way, battery life, 2 hours on the OLED. Is right 40% minimum scale with ray tracing. We are at how many percent? I'll check in a moment. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, so if you're playing like this, you're going to have 2 hours of battery on the OLED. It's pretty hard on the battery. It's using all the GPU though, which is good. It's at 1600 megahertz. So that's good to see actually. Usually the GPU frequency drops because we're CPU bound, but in this game we don't seem to have that problem. I don't see any screen space reflections though. You feel like selling all of your handheld PCs and wait for RDNA 4? I mean, you could keep only one of them and wait for another big handheld. That's also an option. Yeah, just seems empty. I agree with that. But also it's raining, but that's not an excuse. Alright. Let's try something else. So again, for video, probably 30 to 70% resolution. I think it's a pretty good range. You might say, oh, 30% resolution is horrible. Yeah, but in this case, it's been pretty nice so far. I'm just waiting for daytime. I don't know why daytime hasn't come yet. You can enable ray tracing, yes. In the hideout, you'll always have ray tracing, but you can enable it for the open world. So now we have ray tracing. Let me put the text here. There we go. Frame Gen off. 30 to 75. RT everywhere. There we go. The best option to play it, in my opinion, TAA 30 to 70% without ray tracing all the time. And without frame gen. It's loading because I enabled ray tracing. There it goes. I can definitely notice that it's more pixelated. Yeah, and it drops below 30 more often. So you need to drop the resolution below 30%. But does it work? Yes, it works. And you don't have ray trace reflections, but you do have ray trace global illumination. Which in this game I think it makes a huge difference to have global illumination, especially there's a lot of indirect lighting. You can see that indoors. Let's try that for a second. Let's see if the roof stays the same color. Super quick. Yeah, actually here the bounce lighting, I should focus on this spot that has no lighting. And let's see if it makes a difference. Otherwise we can turn it off and keep it disabled. But why use ray tracing and force the Steam Deck further if it already works okay without it? Let's see. I'll let it load. Come on. You got this. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, I can notice here that there is way better lighting for smaller objects. But again, we're pushing it pretty hard. So if it's worth it, I'd say you decide. But if the resolution bounds are 19% to 40%, like default, then you're probably going to have a more pixelated game with global illumination. But it's on the palm of your hand. I mean, what the hell? It always has GI, ray trace or compute-based shader. Yeah, the thing is, it has it in the hideout at all times. I'm pretty sure the heavy version is in the hideout, but you can also choose to have it in the open world, which is what's going on right now. But it's funny because I have a global illumination, but I don't have screen space reflections. And the water has no physics. So yeah, you can actually enable global illumination. But I wouldn't do it personally. Oh, and I forgot to put here. Thanks again to Ubisoft for providing early access to the game. It releases in around 2 days. That's how I'm playing the game. So my advice is to keep it on diffuse hideout only, unless you want the game to have more depth, which actually makes a difference visually. But on the Steam Deck, if you do this, the game will look much flatter with less... Basically, the resolution scale will go way lower. The dynamic resolution will be way more aggressive if you put this in diffuse everywhere. So my advice is to keep it 30 to 70%, maybe to 65, 35 to 65, makes more sense. And either TAA or XeSS. And the game seems to be targeting 30 FPS with dynamic resolution. I'm pretty sure you can force Steam Deck settings. The thing is, I don't know what the Steam Deck settings are, because the game doesn't tell me. What we could do to try that actually is to go into the settings of the game itself on the Steam Deck and check what the settings are. Check the config file, basically. But I'm even seeing that the animation for the characters in the background is pretty low. RT hideout and TAA 35 to 65. But so far so good. I mean, even on the bigger screen, I think it looks pretty decent. Thank Frame Gen yet? No, I'm not using Frame Gen on a 30 FPS title. I'm sorry, but people that claim that it doesn't have input lag should be medically blind, because it does have input lag. At least they need to at least accept that. But I did try the Deku Frame Gen plugin on games that do not have Frame Gen. And honestly, if the base frame rate is not even close to 45, don't even try Frame Gen. That's my opinion, of course. But it's crazy how much cope there is around the Steam Deck and Frame Gen. So much cope, in fact, that having a game looking great on Steam Deck means 30 FPS that you get there with Frame Gen. Ridiculous. Yeah, here RT is selective. The thing is, again, when you go to the hideout, they force ray tracing on you. So whether you like it or not, in the hideout, there's always ray tracing. You cannot turn it off there. Which is a closed soft environment, it's a smaller place, but it still hits the GPU like a truck. That's why the resolution scale is so aggressive. Ubisoft was like, okay, once on the Steam Deck, they get to the Frame Gen part, to the hideout part that has ray tracing, they need to have 30 FPS. So how do we do it? Oh, we can put 19% resolutions. Good idea, let's do that. And you can see that because, well, here, 27 FPS with 35% resolution. So I think the lower bound frame rate that they put is actually a good idea. Just due to the fact that, again, forces ray tracing in this part. So whether we like it or not, it has ray tracing in this section. And you can actually notice with the indirect lighting, the smaller objects having nice shading. But I think it's good enough, personally. I think it makes sense that it's verified, especially if we can turn on ray tracing. But before I do anything else, just for experimentation's sake, what I'm going to try is actually to tell the game, hey, I'm not a Steam Deck, I'm a PC. So it's not going to put any of the Steam Deck settings. It's going to do whatever it thinks it can do. So it should unlock all the settings. So this will be, I'll call this Steam Deck equals 0. Otherwise, so we now should have an idea on what the game looks like when it comes to settings. How do you get the Ubisoft launcher on your Steam Deck? I have a video talking about it. But you have to manually install it. It's kind of a pain the first time you do it, but then you get used to it. It's only once. I launch all my Ubisoft games from here, actually. So let's launch Assassin's Creed Shadows, and let's see how it goes without any help. Telling it, hey, Assassin's Creed, I'm not a Steam Deck. Definitely not a Steam Deck. That's what I'm telling the game. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can fool the game. If we cannot, well, we're going to use those settings. Yeah, this is on Steam, but I got a code for Ubisoft Connect. So thanks again to Ubisoft for providing a code. And I'm not going to complain that I got it on Ubisoft Connect. I mean, just the fact that they provided the game is more than enough for me. And I can show you guys before it comes out, so you can make a choice without having to buy the game. So yeah, let's see. Did we fool the game? But if you have it on Steam, the difference will be that, well, apart from having those, what's the name of this? Apart from having those precast shaders, it's going to install Ubisoft Connect and then launch the game. So it's kind of the same thing. No, I couldn't fool it. No, it still knows that I'm a Steam Deck. So interesting. We cannot do, at least on the Ubisoft Connect version, we cannot tell it, hey, I'm not a Steam Deck. So that's fine. Let me reset the page. Let's see what the default settings were. So let's put everything on default. Okay, it changed whatever the hell it had before. By default, it wasn't at 25%. And it wasn't on automatic. It was on TAA. It was something like this, actually. When I launched the game, it looked something like this. I'm pretty sure it's recorded. There's evidence. How does it run from 1 to 10? 1 to 10. Maybe a 7. I would say a 7. It's 30 FPS with pretty decent visuals, in my opinion. But again, I show you both the screen itself and the screen itself and with a capture card, so you can actually see what it kind of looks like and how it feels like. But again, let's... Yeah, the low standards, I would say this is a 7. Considering it forces ray tracing on the user, but you can do something about it. But again, it's a 7 because, at least in comparison to other games that claim to be verified, this one actually holds 30 most of the time. But I will consider it a 7. The thing is, anything below a 7 on Steam Deck to me is not worth playing, so yeah. I guess my standards are too low. Yeah, I mean, Black Flag runs fantastically well on Steam Deck. But it's also, as you guys said, on the Nintendo Switch. And let's remember, this game is not on PS4. And this hardware is below PS4 when it comes to GPU. Let's go to the big screen. So give me a few seconds. Let's see if it remembers that I have a screen hooked up to it. Look, I'm going to change to a bigger screen. Oh, how did he do that? Oh my god. No, it's not coming out on PS4. And thank you so much, Spencer Walker21, for the other 6.66 US dollar donation. He says, how does Alan Wake run 1 to 10? That's definitely a 4. But I'm guessing, again, my range is pretty... I mean, why 1 to 10? Cannot be like 1 to 3? Because I think it's pretty fair to just say, okay, it's worth playing. So maybe my 7 is more like a 3 if I use the bigger scale. I don't know. The thing is, Rise of the Ronin is a 1 directly, so it jumps from 5 to 1. It's like 2, 3, and 4 do not exist in my range. So maybe if I was using a bigger range, maybe a 5, because it actually hits 30s consistently. But again, it can go pretty low on resolution, but I think it looks good, all things considered. Again, not the best way to play it, not even close, but considering it's not on PS4, I think it runs well. Why does it look like an early PS4 game? Because we're putting a non-PS4 game in a device that is slower than a PS4. At least when it comes to GPU. That's why. So what settings would I use? At least right now, there's not much to do when it comes to options. So as a minimum static resolution, I'd say 25 and a maximum of 65. And this is a huge range, but this 25% is for when ray tracing turns on. Because in the hideout, again, in the hideout there's always ray tracing running. You can also enable ray tracing for the open world, but I do not recommend that, way lower pixel count. And you only have like 25% resolution in the hideout, which is not the biggest deal in the world, but the maximum it can go is to like quality upscaling. TAA looks okay, FSR looks horrible, XeSS looks okay, so either XeSS or TAA, both look pretty good, in my opinion, at least so far. And maybe lower the FOV if you want a little bit more performance. It's already pretty low. I'll put it at 90%. And the settings are decided by Ubisoft, basically. You don't have control over the settings on Steam Deck. The funny thing is that the game still has ray tracing. But without ray tracing, it looks pretty flat. And when it comes to the CPU, sometimes it maxes out one core, but it uses pretty little CPU. The thing is, it's not that impressive when it comes to towns. Towns feel pretty empty. It's a pretty common theme nowadays. I don't know why towns are almost always empty in new games. Maybe I'm in a little town and I don't know it, but the town definitely feels pretty dead. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, it obviously looks like Vaseline is on the screen. It's a 720p image with upscaling. But again, when it comes to CPU, I think it's okay. I will also maybe lock it to 30 here. Well, the game is not going above 30 anytime soon, so I'll keep it like this. What I would do though is show you another section, which is the beginning of the game. And at the beginning of the game, it can get pretty intensive. Oh, not desktop. Yep. Yeah, that it could be it as well, Alistair. Yeah, the consequence of open world. Yeah, man. Yeah, open world, but it's empty. Yeah, I hate that. Can you log it to 30? I will do it. There we go. 30 FPS log. Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'll start the game from the beginning, and I'm going to make it immersive for some reason. And heads up, there are some cutscenes that I cannot skip at the moment, so apologies in advance.
You will have a jigsaw of experiences and emotions.
So yeah. Nikon Deliverance 2 manages to have town being very populated. Yeah, but it doesn't have huge towns everywhere.
And then there are the ones I've
It's different.
What I'm about
But at the same time, the smart way is the best way.
there are imperfections.
But it's a completely different type of game.
Algorithm and biology. I'm
So yeah.
getting ahead of myself.
And also in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you cannot move as fast and you're not climbing things, so you can limit the game's visuals, because in here you can climb basically all the structures. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you need to have access to those places. It's not like you're flying in the sky or something, so you can adjust it better. The thing is, when you go full open world like this with lots of stuff, it's pretty hard to keep it populated. And it's very easy to just fill it with filler. How many open world games you played that have, how to say it, consistently different content? Because it's usually repeated missions in different parts of the map. And this part, why does this part have more people? Well, because this is the beginning and they can make a corridor. And that's basically it. Yeah, Red Dead 2 is a great example, but in Red Dead 2 you can notice that they could pour that in a PS4 game, because it's not like in GTA that you're in a car going at 100 miles per hour. You're in a horse. You move way more slowly in Red Dead 2. If I could grab a car in Red Dead 2, I could wreck performance on a base PS4. So it's a thing of designing it from the get-go with that in mind. In this case, Red Dead 2 is Rockstar. But again, when you start designing the game, you have to keep those things in mind. Keep everything. And again, it's easier to just throw technology at a game to try to sell it better. I'm pretty sure it's easier to make those activities, just drop them in a big map with icons, and that's it. It takes less time. Were you really expecting 60s on a Steam Deck?
This memory is fractured.
If that's so, it's hilarious.
It trails off into infinitesimally smaller fragments. I'll fast forward you to the next reassembled memory.
But yeah, it's $70. I wouldn't pay $70 for this. By the way, thanks Ubisoft for providing a code. But I wouldn't recommend it.
Viruses, data corruption,
At that price, not even close.
But sometimes it's because
I will wait for a sale, definitely. But the combat is way better than Valhalla. Oh, okay, it has Zenuvo. That explains some spikes on the frame time. I'm guessing it's a mix of the engine and the art style. The Red Dead 2 thing. Okay, here comes the hard part. Lots of particles. Okay, I can clearly tell the particles are on the low preset from the PC version, or lower. But I was expecting it to be below 20 in this part. But there's definitely way less fire and effects. I see what they did there. this is one of those places that it drops the most when it comes to the GPU performance, at least for me. Why did Ubisoft ever think this game wouldn't run on deck when even RT can do 30 FPS? It's verified, so yeah. It should be good, but not always. Again, props to them, because usually verified means nothing. It still means nothing, in my opinion. But I think on the smaller screen, it's okay. The thing is, what is verified? XeSS performs well with default settings. Well, the default settings here are pretty aggressive upscaling. But I don't think it looks like a potato if you compare it to the full game on the PC. I mean, it still looks like Assassin's Creed Shadows. I meant recently Ubisoft changed their minds, said it would be unsupported until very recently. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? My guess for they changing their minds and trying to make it work is probably because the game is very unpopular when it comes to the public. There's been a lot of backlash for this game. And it's been delayed multiple times, so what a better way to earn people's trust than saying, hey guys, it works on Steam Deck. So I understand why they would do it. They need better press, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it could be like a little bit better than this on Switch too. Especially with the DLSS that it's going to have, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it plays better than Spider-Man 2, definitely. Although, I think the resolution scale that I put is not good enough. 25... No, 25 is okay. Let's keep it at 25. 25 to 65%. Again, by default it's at 19%. I think that's a little bit too much, even for ray-traced moments. I'll also lower the sharpness to the lowest you can. And please, for the love of God, do not use frame gen. And do not enable ray tracing on the open world. Yeah, initially it was 19 to 56. So in areas like this, or areas with ray tracing, it's probably when it drops to 19%. But this part, it's like 15 minutes long. But again, 19% to 56 is a huge range. And by a huge range, I mean it can be the difference between 100 and something p to 500p. But I think the upscaler is doing a good job. I'm not sure, Akai. I have so many questions. Look at me, so strong. I guess the shinobi in this universe are stupid. That has to be the explanation. Yeah, it runs way better than runs Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin, it cannot hit 30s unless you use frame gen. Yeah, he's wearing power armor, definitely. With those crackdown kicks. Doinks. Yeah. What's XeSS DLL version? I think it's FSR. Sorry. XeSS 3 point something? I'm not entirely sure. I haven't checked. Yeah, look at that kick. Kick to the face. Dead. Smash! Hulk smash! I like this, his special, nothing personal kid. Never heard that.
Listen carefully.
I haven't paid enough attention, I guess.
Fractured, ignored, twisted. But what has been can never truly be lost.
So guys,
Past is power.
I need to ask that question. Would you play it on Steam Deck?
The structural integrity of a memory
What do you
is
think?
solid. There is much for you. And
Do you
others
care
to
that it
say.
drops to 25 or 19% resolution when ray tracing is on, or when there is a lot of particles, which is the first 40 minutes of the game? I'm not saying full price. Let me make a poll. Would you play this on deck? Yes, no, and yeah, I'm already saying wait for a sale. This is definitely not worth paying full price for. You own all other 3D Assassin's Creed games on Steam, getting this but not at $70. Yeah, 40s I think it makes more sense. So far for what I played, it doesn't feel as, how to say it, as bloated as Valhalla. The map is smaller than Valhalla's, so when I saw the map was smaller, I was like, okay, we're doing something well. Performance-wise, you play it, the game does not interest you. This or Ghost of Tsushima? Definitely Ghost of Tsushima. Without a shadow of a doubt, Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm biased. But Ghost of Tsushima a million times over this game. Sony doesn't even sell it here. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Sony PSN required thing. They went back on it, but the countries that have no PSN still cannot buy the single player games. It's ridiculous. Oh yeah, I guess Sony doesn't want your money. Yeah, when the fire is close to the screen, it always drops pretty hard. They release a patch in the near future, verified on day one is wild. I mean, by verified they mean it looks okay in the smaller screen, it performs well, which in this case means 30 FPS with a wildly fluctuating resolution. Personally, I think this actually has a good image quality, all things considered. When it comes to performance, it tests at 30 pretty often, but if you keep it at the default dynamic resolution, that is 19 to 56%, I think it's way too aggressive. The thing is, there are parts of the game that have ray tracing whether you like it or not, like the hideout that I showed you at the beginning. Or the very beginning of the game that has lots of effects. And by lots of effects, I mean fire on some buildings. But again, I think considering how many verified games I saw that run like absolute garbage, this is a surprise. I was expecting way worse than this. I was like, okay, this game has forced ray trace sections. We're not getting consistent 30s. And well, would you look at that? It's a 2025 AAA game on your hand. Pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more impressive just due to the fact that this didn't even come out on PS4. Usually, when we're playing a game that didn't come out on PS4, we're usually screwed up on Steam Deck. And he didn't even see me. Fucking idiot. So yeah, in that regard, I agree. I was expecting more people in towns, though. But I can definitely notice that this is below low settings on PC. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but it does look like lower settings. Especially when it comes to the shadow popping. On the amount of clutter in the ground. It's pretty clear that they did something special for the Steam Deck here, otherwise, although the shadow quality is still pretty good. And the textures are not awful. Until you look at the ground, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest weakness on PS4 in this case will be the CPU, and the GPU doesn't support ray tracing. Let me skip this. Okay, I cannot skip this. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's easily could run on PS4, but if they designed the game with ray tracing in mind and started cutting it out, it makes sense that it doesn't work on PS4. I just don't understand why they force it in the hideout, but in the other sections it's fine. That I cannot understand that decision. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, the deck supports ray tracing. Yeah, look at the ground. Yeah, it has almost no clutter in comparison. Oh, this is the hideout, I think. Is it? Hold up. Oh, it doesn't allow me to, of course. Yeah, it's a hideout. Here's where ray tracing is on. Yeah, I can see the pixelation now. And this is ray tracing for global illumination. Yep. This is the Foundry did a ray tracing video for the original Steam Deck. Yeah, I saw it when it came out. It was pretty interesting. Personally, I wouldn't enable ray tracing on Steam Deck. It's nice to see it. It's like, oh, look, it works on Steam Deck. But I wouldn't, on purpose, enable ray tracing on Steam Deck. I'd rather have decent performance. Yeah, Indiana Jones is 30 frames on Steam Deck with some visual sacrifices, but that game runs at 60 on every console, even on the Series S. So that's my difference there. On Assassin's Creed Shadows, this one on PS5 is dynamic 4K 30, then balance is dynamic 4K targeting 40s, and then performance mode is dynamic 4K at 60 FPS, which I don't know how well it will handle 60 frames and what the image quality will be, but it's hilarious because Ubisoft just says, oh yeah, dynamic 4K, that's it. And as you can see, the dynamic resolution can be pretty aggressive. What the hell is the horse doing? This horse has superpowers. I always have to break it, right? I mean, Indiana Jones works on Steam Deck, but it's 30 FPS with very heavy resolution cuts. But if Indiana Jones for any reason was 30 FPS on the consoles, then we wouldn't be able to play it on Steam Deck. Right up. Ray trace reflections are pretty boring, but ray trace global illumination looks pretty phenomenal. In this game in particular, yes. In some games, it's not that obvious. This is one of those games where global illumination actually makes a huge difference. I said this in my previous live stream when I was playing it on PC, that actually in this game I wouldn't disable ray tracing, which is pretty rare. I usually disable it when I'm playing games. But in this game it makes a huge difference because it doesn't look flat with ray tracing on. And while you can enable ray tracing on Steam Deck, I think it's a waste of performance because you can use that performance for higher resolutions. So instead of 19% resolution, you can do 30% or 60%. Yeah, well, Doom the Dark Ages will be interesting. I'm pretty sure it will run at 60 on everything. So if that's the case, it's probably going to be 30 on Steam Deck with lots of things being dropped. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, being too ambitious. Yeah. Borderline 30 with drops into the 20s is probably going to be Doom the Dark Ages. We'll see. I'm hoping for something similar to Indiana Jones when it comes to Doom the Dark Ages performance. When it comes to this one, I think it's decent enough. And obviously you need to make sacrifices on a handheld. But in this case, the sacrifice is not you need to enable frame generation. Because come on, frame generation feels horrible. With such a low base frame rate, you're not fooling me. Oh look, an enemy. Isn't ray tracing in Doom only required for collision detection? We're talking about the Doom game that didn't release yet. He doesn't see me. I'm invisible. Get him. Whoa! What happened to the camera there? Oh, good. Okay, that's the main one. Oh no, here it is. As I was saying, if we're talking about Doom Eternal, RT is optional on that one. The new Doom game that's coming out this year has mandatory ray tracing. Oh, okay. Ray trace collision detection. Interesting. Yep. That doesn't seem like nothing new, honestly. Synchronized. Okay, so one more time. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the smaller screen. But again, I highly recommend you use 25% as a minimum resolution scale. So yeah, this is what it looks like. And you can see my reflection. But I'm happy that it actually looks correct. It looks like the game, but obviously with lower settings. So I think the sacrifices they made are okay. I just wish we could turn off ray tracing in the hideout. That's all I'm asking for. So that 25% resolution is for basically the ray traced moments that you cannot avoid. Will it run smoothly on Rogue Ally? Yeah, the Rogue Ally will be fine. It's faster than Steam Deck, has a faster CPU and a faster GPU. Dead. Reduce to atoms. Will you have a video posted showing the settings you recommend for this? Yeah, definitely. But there's no settings. That's the problem. I don't know if it's a problem or a solution actually. Because I'm happy to have settings in games. And I'm always pro options in games. But I feel that they didn't only lower the settings. I'm pretty sure they went below the minimum settings on PC. I think they made a special setting for Steam Deck. So yeah, there's no special settings. From me, I would say the only change I would do is instead of 19% resolution, 25% as a lower bound and 65% as a higher bound. And again, I think it looks fine. I don't think it's a bad looking game when it comes to resolution especially. I would like to be able to turn textures to medium. Yeah, it would be nice, but they don't allow us to. I'll find a way, I'm pretty sure. Once the game fully comes out in a couple days, I'm going to try and unlock the settings, but at the moment I couldn't do it even with the Steam Deck equals 0 option. Oh yeah, let me do HDR super quick. I forgot about HDR. One sec. I think I need to restart the game for that actually, because I started it with image calibration here. HDR on. Okay, there is HDR. Although it's not showing here. Oh, apply. Duh. There we go. Yeah, it can be pretty damn bright. You're goddamn right. Although, let me increase the brightness a bit. Oh yeah, with HDR, actually HDR looks pretty good. Might not be able to see that on camera, but the darker parts actually look darker, if it's better. So if you can use HDR, not bad. Actually, it looks good on the OLED. So yeah, I think the only thing you need to do is to grab these settings and change the dynamic resolution to 25 to 65. I did a video on Metal Gear Solid 5. But with HDR it looks fantastic, actually. Why didn't I think about this earlier? I forgot about HDR. I lowered the sharpness to 0.05. Then I'm not sure if I'm missing something. But I'll load it one more time. For the manual save. Does it have XeSS? Yes. Oops. It forgot my save. Oops. Oh, Ubisoft. Couldn't connect to the internet for some reason. Oh, okay, you used this save. Okay, it uploaded another save to the cloud and replaced the one I had on my PC. That's fantastic. I'm so happy about that. FSR looks horrible, TAA looks okay, XeSS looks okay. So whichever you like the most. I think either TAA or XeSS are a good option here. But I think the performance cost is pretty high for XeSS. Yeah, FSR looked absolutely horrible. Yeah, no. FSR looked like compressed pixels. Not good. I think it re-logged me in. Yeah, I think the servers crashed for a moment. That's hilarious. Yeah, I think it cannot connect to the servers, I'm pretty sure. Because I lost my save, and it was in the cloud. Oops. Oh well. The thing is, I think the game looks okay enough. I think it should be verified, all things considered. And again, out of the box, what do I have my Wi-Fi disabled? What the hell? Why? Did I accidentally turn on airplane mode? Am I that stupid? Yeah, I mean, most of the time FSR looks horrible. But some of the time, it's okay. Or the only option. Sometimes they only put FSR 1. And I'm like, dude, give me something. Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean by 19% resolution, because when I enabled the upscaling on PC, quality was like 44% and it should be 66. So I'm not sure if they're talking about each axis or the entire resolution. That's my doubt about that setting. Because if that's the case, then the resolution is much higher than we think. Hence why I think the image quality is good. Because it doesn't look like 19% resolution. It looks pixelated, but not that pixelated. Yeah, 25% should be like performance FSR if we use that as a reference. Instead of using each axis, if it's the entire thing. But again, it doesn't specify. So if they change that, we're going to know in the future, I guess. Oh yeah, the Steam Deck 2 will be a cakewalk for this one. I mean, if they can already make it hit 30 FPS with decent visuals, and by decent I mean below low settings on PC, I think it's okay. Yeah, no, don't install this on a hard drive. Let's see if it remembers my save. Yes, it does. There you are. Yeah, I just turned on airplane mode without knowing. I screwed up there. Don't even think about using Frame Gen, please. The input lag is insanely high. Do yourself a favor and do not use Frame Gen. But again, if you look at the smaller screen, even on a bigger screen, I don't feel that the resolution at some point is like, oh, this is too low. I think it's okay, it looks decent. I was expecting, honestly, way worse performance after playing this on PC. So yeah, I think it should be verified. It looks good enough. The HDR is pretty damn good. Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. I highly recommend you turn it on. And let me enable XeSS before I go. Before I forget. Don't use FSR, please. Okay, XeSS. Yeah, XeSS. I think it looks... It's actually much better with XeSS. The thing is, the performance seems to be a bit worse. So I'm not sure if with XeSS we can keep that resolution scale. So this is XeSS. Okay, here we go. Frame Gen is only usable on deck when you have at least 45. Yeah, as a base. This is not even close to that. So if you want to use Frame Gen, knock yourself out, but the input lag is insanely noticeable. And at best you're getting 40 something FPS with drops into the mid 30s with Frame Gen on. So at that point, why would you use it? I don't get it. I understand that most people think, oh, bigger number better. But it's not always like that. Okay, I already tried it. Funnily enough, whoops, that's me. Funnily enough, I already did try Frame Gen. And just to show you guys, before I go, maybe you missed it, this is what it looks like on a screen with the same resolution, obviously. Again, considering how aggressive the upscaling is, I think it looks pretty good. So if you're watching this on your phone, it should look okay. If you're looking at this on a big screen, it probably looks very pixelated. But again, remember we're talking about a 7-inch screen. I think it holds up pretty damn well. So it's one of the few times that I have to say, yeah, this is fine being verified. It looks good enough. As a game, I don't know, that's up to you. So far I would say I wouldn't pay $70 for this. Not even close. And if you never played Ghost of Tsushima and want to play this game, you probably want to play Ghost of Tsushima first. So yeah, and before I go, the voting says, would you play this on deck? Yes, said 56% of you. No, said 44% of you. Okay. And 320 something votes. Cool. So you would. I mean, again, I think it should be verified. So GG, big text is stick to 30 even if you do nothing. Just by entering the game, it already has the correct settings. I would push it a bit higher, but that's just me. But yeah, it works better than I expected. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again to Ubisoft for providing a code of the game. This game releases in 2 days on both Ubisoft Connect and Steam the same day. So it's basically on everything except on the previous gen consoles. Shadow. What was I looking for? Shadow PS4. Oh, by the way, I have to do videos on Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. There we go. So it will unlock in a day and 7 hours, and it's verified, and I agree in this case. The default graphics configuration performs well on Steam Deck. Yeah, it does perform well. It's a bit pixelated in the RT sections, but other than that, I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. FrameGen is garbage though. Don't use FrameGen on this. Just let it do its thing. I wish we could tweak the options. They don't allow us to, but I think they chose well when it comes to the options. So we have 4 settings on Steam Deck. Hopefully on the Steam version we can actually tell the game, hey, this is not a Steam Deck. But yep, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and sticking around. While I investigated this on Steam Deck, I'm going to make another video on the Steam Deck on release day, because there will be a day 1 patch. I don't think it's going to change much, honestly. I think they're pushing it to its limit, at least when it comes to this game. I don't know what else they could do to improve it. I think it's okay. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys. I'm going to sleep. See you next time.